Hello, welcome back to the Armenian Museum. I'm Gary Lind-Sinanian, the curator. I'm here to share another story with you on Object Show and Tell. Today we're going to talk about Armenian vestments. We have a number of vestments in our collection. Usually you can find some on exhibit in the museum. We're going to be loaning some others to Tufts University in the fall for exhibits there. This is an example here of a liturgical crown, Zak of knots, and this is 18th century. And this is a liturgical collar here. These are, of course, extremely rich, very detailed ones. Most of the vestments were actually made by the family. So when a young man was going to be ordained, his family would make the vestments for him. Mary Juskalian in Providence used to maintain this tradition of making vestments for priests. And when it got to the point where she could no longer keep up with making the vestments, she gave us the molds and material for them. So, for instance, if you wanted to make a sagazat, a priest crown, this is the mold here, heavy wood. And you would take this and you'd cut the fabric out around it to make the shape. Or you could use these pieces, larger ones, to go around it and put it together. And you'd embroider it in order to create the vestment. And this is an example of a collar she made, embroidered collar, beautiful work. And this is, again, made for a priest. And on the top of the crown, you would have these kind of crosses, four-sided crosses, so that from any angle you look at the crown, you would see the cross. And this would be put on top of the crown here. And this is another example of a priest's long apron. This is where we go around the collar and hang down. And she did all this embroidery herself on the piece. Beautiful workmanship. And here is an example she was working on, which is a little bit further in the production. You can see the Armenian cross on the corners here. And the cutout here where she would have cut it out eventually to piece it together. And of course, everybody's head is different sized. And so you'd use these kind of molds like this, and you crank the mold in order to make it larger in case it was too tight on the priest. And especially when they got to the high ranks, they got big heads, and so they needed a larger mold for that. So usually when you see an exhibit of Armenian vestments, you see the finished product such as this, but you really don't see how they made it. And we're very lucky that Mary donated this collection to us, so we have the actual pieces made in the production of church vestments. And so these are the kind of things that an ordinary priest would wear. As he rose in the ranks, the garments would get fancier and fancier, and there'd be professional embroiderers doing that. But usually when you started out, it was your family. And everybody in the family had somebody could do embroidery in the family, and they would do this. The ladies would do this as a special gift to the favorite son, the one who's going to become a dirhai. The Armenian Museum is here to share our stories, our history, our culture with you, the public. Well, we thank you for joining us. If you want to hear more stories, you can go onto YouTube, Object Show and Tell, and we'll take you to some of the stories from Alma, or you can go onto our website, and there's a link to it. This year is the 50th anniversary of the museum. There was no better time to join the museum than now. And so if you're not a member yet, please go to armenianmuseum.org/membership and to find out the details about joining the Armenian Museum. We thank you for joining us. We hope you'll see us again. And until then, stay safe.